I'm really eager to talk to you because we've had so many depressing conversations about Tennessee football, and things seem so different today. Describe the change and how sustainable do you think this is?
Well, I just know in the past, I think you often call me because you thought I'd be making fun of Tennessee. And
True.
There were a lot of opportunities, admittedly. Not anymore. I really like the overall leadership at Tennessee right now, from President Chancellor on down. But as far as football goes, Paul, it's I really am impressed with Josh Heupel and what he's done and how he's done it so quickly. And this guy, to me, is the first coach. I've been here since '87, and he has more of an impact on game day than any of Tennessee's other coaches. I believe that very strongly. He is so good offensively. He can do some of the same things that Steve Spurrier did so many years in this league. And that's what makes Tennessee a real threat against just about everybody, and sometimes against more talented teams.
John, I know we know what they're good at. I wanted to ask you about some of the concerns, though, and you hear defense. As you watch these games, what do you see when you look at the Tennessee defense?
Well, yeah, there are a lot of holes there, Paul. I think, but we kind of knew that going into the season, and I'm sure you did too. You knew that would be an issue, and it has been at times. It certainly was against Florida. Think back to, I guess the mid-'80s. Remember Paul Westhead when he was the coach at Loyola Marymount?
Oh, yeah.
And his whole strategy was based on, we don't care what happens as long as we get the opponent playing at a fast pace. And, and you'll need to score in the hundreds to beat him, was his philosophy. And it worked pretty well. Josh Heupel's offense, you got to score a lot of points to beat Tennessee. I think everybody will have to do that. I don't think anybody will shut them down. I don't think Alabama will. I don't think Georgia will. So you got to go in with the mindset you got to score a lot, and you've got to capitalize on those shortcomings of the Tennessee defense. Tennessee doesn't cover well, and that was very apparent against Florida. Florida has kind of pedestrian receivers, yet it was able to move the ball effectively through the air the whole game. And I think that's where you attack. That's where you need to attack Tennessee. But Tennessee has been pretty good against the run. And to me, that's real interesting for this game because LSU's quarterback, Jaden Daniels, can certainly run, but he hasn't been able to stretch the defense that much with his passing. I think he needs to do that against Tennessee. You need to make that secondary, spread them out and make them cover and try to capitalize on those shortcomings.
Talking to John Adams about the Tennessee Vols. I want to go back to Heupel because I let that one get away too quickly, but you mentioned a comparison to Spurrier. That's enormous praise for anyone who has covered the SEC over these many, many years. How would you compare and contrast the two? Spurrier, legendary, Hall of Fame coach, and considered one of the brightest offensive minds ever.
Yeah, and I think Spurrier, I'm not saying he's as good as Steve Spurrier because Steve's one of the greatest coaches in college football history, and he did it for a long time, and he did it at different places with different type teams. But the thing that reminds me of Spurrier, Paul, is Heupel's ability to get receivers open. This is not a wondrously talented offensive team. It's got pretty good talent, but it's just not, it doesn't have those kind of receivers that were catching Joe Burrow's passes at LSU a few years ago or Matt Jones's passes 2020 when Alabama won the national championship. But the receivers always seem open in this system. Heupel's philosophy, he spreads the field, he sends those receivers to the far boundaries, and he's able to get them open. And that's one thing Spurrier was so adept at. As you remember, he could spot immediately a weakness in the secondary And I don't know if Josh is as good at this, but Sparty would spot a weakness, and then he would say, okay, we want to get that guy having to cover this receiver, and it's going well for us. And it so often did. But when you watch Tennessee play, there are just going to be so many times where you see not one, but two receivers open on the same play.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.